Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on this very chilly November Friday afternoon. We are very, very excited to be welcoming today Ms. Eileen Viloria, who is the Youth Programs Coordinator at the Andy Warhol Museum. She received her Bachelor of Fine Arts degree along with her K-12 Pennsylvania teaching certification from Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania. For nearly a decade, she has been devoted to reaching youth through art education outside of a traditional classroom setting. Through her work at the Warhol, she has concentrated on developing programming opportunities for high school-aged youth in the Pittsburgh area. She firmly believes in centering the voice of youth participants to create inclusive spaces where they are safe to explore and express their authentic selves. Eileen resides in Pittsburgh with her husband, child, and 2 rescue pups. And with that, I am very happy to welcome Ms. Eileen Viloria. Let's give it up for her.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm usually the facilitator for both of these with my teen group. So it was interesting to be asked to be a guest speaker. So thank you for this opportunity. I will be sharing my screen. Let me know if it shows up okay.
All set.
All set. Yes. So there's going to be lots of images of me on this this presentation. So like Jeremy said, I am the Youth Programs Coordinator at the Andy Warhol Museum. Before I dive into what I do and how I got there, just a little bit of basic information about the museum. I'm not sure who has been there before. We've been in this location since 1994. It's right by PNC Park. So often on game days, even for Heinz Field, we get lots of visitors that are coming to, spend the day there before they go to a game or to a concert or something nearby. We have the largest collection of Andy's work, artwork, but also archival material. So that includes like any like personal effects that were left behind after he passed away. It also includes like correspondences from like celebrities, other artists, the source material for a lot of his iconic works. He kind of saved everything. And so that has also helped us kind of piece together who this person was as we work on his exhibitions and rotating the works that are on display. We have the most comprehensive, we are the most comprehensive single artist museum in North America and one of the largest in the world. Like I said, the works will rotate because, of course, Warhol works or any artwork for that matter that is older is, susceptible to like the elements of like air and light. And so sometimes they just need to rest in storage before they're back out to be on public view. So there are some works that you see one visit to the museum, and the next time you come in, it might not be there because it needs to rest for a couple of years. We also exhibit contemporary artists or other artists that are not Warhol. Right now, we actually have an amazing exhibition called Marisol and Warhol Take New York. And so it is the work of Marisol Escobar, who was a Venezuelan artist who actually broke out into the pop art scene in New York City before Warhol. And so by the time the two of them met in the 1960s, Warhol was like just trying to break into the art world and like get into galleries, but Marisol had already achieved that kind of fame. She was featured in like Time magazine. Thousands of people were like lining up to see her work. But through the years, her story was kind of erased. And they focused more on a lot of the male artists in New York City at the time. So it's a really great look at what was going on and see their friendship as well. They also created work that seem to have influenced each other in some of those iconic works. So I highly suggest that you get to the museum to see it. So day to day at the museum, I am running multiple youth programs, and one of those programs is the Youth Arts Council. And this is probably the program that takes up most of my time because it is a program that spans the length of a school year. And so in the summer, early fall, we take in applications and do interviews. And then we select a cohort of students from all over the Pittsburgh area. And so this cohort, the past 2 years, had to meet virtually, but we are back in person. And prior to that, we were in person. And so they would meet and become a community, and together they would get a behind the scenes look at how the museum functions, not only seeing what we do in our education department, but also, meeting with curators to see how exhibitions come together, art handlers to see how the artwork, comes in and out of our space, and all the other departments that help the museum run day to day. They get to get more comfortable in the galleries and learning how to talk about artwork, voicing their interpretations and their viewpoints when looking at Warhol's work. And so through that, they get to create their own museum programming. So I do most of the logistical and not so fun administrative work, like putting in like facilities requests and answering emails and doing budgets. But at the same time, taking a lot of the ideas that the teams are brainstorming and figuring out a way to make them come to life, whether it's a special theme for an event, specific art supplies. A lot of the time they are the ones that drive who our guest artists are, what their interests are like is reflected in our, curriculum. So it does change year to year depending on who is in the cohort. So they do learn, about Warhol and his silkscreen printing process, and that's kind of just the door that leads them to other local organizations and other local artists and even exhibiting artists at the museum. So it's been really great. I want to say I've been running this program since 2017, and this is our 5th cohort that is together this year. And this is our latest group. They are standing in front of, there's a new mural on the side of the Andy Warhol Museum by an artist named Typo. And the Carnegie Museum is celebrating their 125th anniversary. And to celebrate, they've launched these new team memberships. And it's really nice. So other than the Warhol Museum, the other Carnegie museums are the Carnegie Science Center, which is also on the North Shore area. And then in Oakland, the Carnegie Museum of Art and Carnegie Museum of Natural History. And so the four spaces make up the Carnegie Museum Pittsburgh. And so we are promoting these teen memberships. It's free to sign up. It's free admission to all 4 museums, as long as you're a teenager. So once you sign up, it will automatically renew until I believe your 19th birthday or your 20th birthday. I'm not sure which birthday it is, but it's really great. It's a great way to just see what's going on. A lot of the museums now have a big push for teen-led initiatives, which is really nice. We have been doing teen programming for a long time at the Warhol, but it's nice that we can now promote these free memberships so that there's not an obstacle of having to pay admission to come through the door. So our Youth Arts Council this year is actually planning our launch event, which is this coming December 10th. It's a Friday night from 5 to 7 p.m. It's free. We have a DJ. There's going to be snacks, art making. The teens are going to do some gallery talks, so they get to pick which artworks they want to talk about. They've helped design some art making activities that are related to the featured artwork. So it's free. We just ask that people register online. So hopefully you can help us spread the word about that. And then another event that Youth Arts Council plans is Youth Invasion. And Youth Invasion, unfortunately, had to take a break the last 2 years. So we're hoping to bring it back Friday, April 29th, 2022. And so this has been a long-standing Warhol event even before I started working with them. So it's taken different shapes and forms over the years, but it is the annual teen takeover night at the Andy Warhol Museum. And the Youth Arts Council will work to maybe, sometimes there's a fashion show, sometimes there's a youth art exhibition, The photos here, like the one in the middle, we had like our own little like youth artist market set up, and there's always like live performances. We're not sure what form it'll take this year or what the theme is, but stay tuned. The Youth Arts Council will be announcing that probably in like January, February. Another one of our really big programs at the Warhol that I helped to plan is our LGBTQ plus youth prom. It's open to LGBTQ plus youth and allies. And it is the largest prom like this in Southwestern Pennsylvania. So we have people coming from all over for this event. We've even supplied buses to like Beaver County, Washington County, and other GSAs that are outside of the city of Pittsburgh. And so it's just a wonderful, like, safe and inclusive space, but you get to have a good time. We have prom planning meetings, and so it is the youth and allies that come together to pick out the theme, the decorations, what food we'll have. That photo on the right, we've actually had DJ workshops in the past. We partnered up with our friends at the Lighthouse Project, and they led, I want to say like a 5 to 7 week DJ course. And so each of the students that did it got to play a set for like, I want to say like 40 to 60 minutes. So that was really nice, because then it was just obviously the music that they wanted to play and not like someone like me picking out, which is really important. So that's why, you know, like as far as my job goes, even though I'm the youth programs coordinator, I'm not the voice of the youth. I let the youth drive a lot of where this goes. And then another program, this one's a little bit newer. This one is about 3 years old at this point, is our School of Drag program. And so it is teaching teens about the history of drag and gender bending performances, and just, you know, using performance as a way to explore your identity. I don't teach these. I also look to experts on this program. So Morgana is on the left here in the red, and Akasha on the right, who've been our 2 amazing facilitators the last couple of years that really like take these, you know, students under their wings. And it's been a really great time, and I'm really excited to keep this going. This is a summer program, so we're not sure what the dates are just yet. We were really lucky to be able to go back to an in-person performance at the end of August, after doing all of the workshops via Zoom, which is really interesting to learn how to do drag makeup over Zoom. And it was a lot of laptops, like really close to people's faces. So like I said, it's been so nice to have things back in person, although it does look very different. I'm excited to have things, being able to see my teams again is really nice. Oh, I was like, what's this slide? So as the youth programs coordinator, other than like running teen programs, I've also had the opportunity to like teach Warhol or talk about Warhol outside of the museum. These 2 photos up here, the one where I'm like, my hair is like super long. This was like many, many moons ago when I had bangs and like red hair. And I started working at the Warhol. As an artist educator, I was really lucky to be able to go to Brazil and assist with a bilingual school that wanted to start a pop art curriculum at their school. And so I was able to help like write and build the curriculum, and then actually go visit the school at the end of their school year and like teach them silkscreen printing. And they actually had like an art show that I got to see. So that was really exciting. And then the other photos with like the big artwork in the background, those were both taken at ICA Boston, so the Institute of Contemporary Art. So they have a team convening every year. And I've been lucky enough to take 2 of our 2 participants in team programs each year that the conference has been in person. And one year we were able to present as with a panel discussion, and another year we got to present just on our program in general. I see there's something in the chat. Oh, you performed there. That's cool. So I haven't been back to ICA Boston, I want to say since 2019, obviously for COVID reasons, but it's been a really great way to connect with other educators and other teams and just see what everyone else is doing in the country, and like learning from each other, learning best practices. You know, our students get to meet up with, you know, people that aren't from Pittsburgh and like see like what they're into. It was through this convening that we actually learned about the School of Drag program. It was piloted in where was it? Oh, Mocha, Tucson. And they had done a School of Drag program and they had presented on it. And then our students were like, hey, can we do that? And we're like, sure, let's figure it out. So it's been really nice to be able to like just have other like support from other educators that aren't just within the museum or within our you know, city of Pittsburgh. The network has grown and it's really great to see what other museums are doing as well. So that's what my job is like. And so I'm gonna kind of shift gears into, you know, like how did I get to the Warhol? So I grew up on the north side of Pittsburgh and I graduated from Perry High School, which I think they just went back to being called Perry Traditional Academy, which is what it was when I graduated. And then like, what's that?
Okay, can you say that one more time? What high school did you go to?
Oh, I went to Perry.
Okay, thank you.
So I graduated from Perry and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I actually didn't even know whether or not if I wanted to go to college because I wasn't sure what I would be interested in. Because I knew it was like, you know, it's a lot of money and, you know, applications and just I didn't want to waste my time or my money. And it was, I was involved in like musical theater, but I knew I didn't really want to do that as like I enjoyed it, but it wasn't what I wanted to do with the rest of my life as much as I enjoyed it. And it was really like the art teachers that I had there that really kind of mentored me. I did for a very small amount of time wanted to be a math teacher until I got to calculus, and then that kind of went away. But I did take art classes all 4 years, and all of my art teachers went to Edinburgh University, and they were just like, check it out. I did a campus visit, I want to say just in my senior year. And it's located in the snow belt up north, about 2 hours near Erie. And I went in January and still liked it. And I was just, I don't know, it just felt right. I had gone to other school visits and there, you know, like I just didn't feel connected, or like I didn't really see myself going there. But Edinburgh, just like, it was a small town. I really liked touring their art studios and their art space. I want to say they now do like a high school art day where like high school students can go check out the art studios. I don't think they had that when I was in high school. But I ended up starting my college like journey with the major of art education. And within art education, you end up taking like an intro to intermediate course in pretty much like all the different like mediums. So of course I, you know, took ceramics class, printmaking, photography, sculpture, wood furniture, metals. I feel like I even took a weaving class. That was cool. But it was really metals that I fell in love with. And it was after my first, I want to say it was an introduction to metalsmithing class. And I just really enjoyed the medium, and that like you can take like a flat piece of metal or like a piece of wire and make something really cool out of it. And, you know, like using a torch felt pretty cool. I was still doing the art education classes and talking with my professors. They suggested changing my major to a straight fine arts major. So I went from art education which I believe is a Bachelor of Science degree. And then I ended up switching to a fine arts major, which is a Bachelor of Fine Arts. And I could still keep up with my teaching courses. And so I was able, it didn't count as a dual major, but it like felt like, and I was able to get my teaching certification. So even though I was doing all of these art classes and having to, like do studio classes and critiques, I was still learning how to write lesson plans and classroom management and like child psychology. So by the time I was done, I was finished with the fine arts part of my degree. I still had to do like student teaching. So I was actually at school, I want to say it was like 5.5 years as opposed to 4. And it was very, I almost quit the art education part of it. But a lot of people were like, just go through with it, like it's just another like semester, like you've gotten this far, just, finish it out. And so I did. Student teaching was, it's not for everyone, to be honest. I liked working with students, but like working in a school just wasn't for me. And student teaching made me realize that. And it wasn't a bad thing, but it was just, like I was glad to have the teaching certification because that was like a really good foot in the door. I'm glad I had the experience of working in a classroom. But then it was also like, what do I do? What do I do with this degree now? Like, I know how to work with metal and I know how to teach kids about art. So after graduating, I kind of worked a lot of different jobs to figure that out. So these are all the jobs that I had, other than working at the Warhol. On the right, you'll notice the like non-artistic jobs that I worked. I worked at Joy and Fabric. Well, I guess, like that's sort of artsy because you have like art supplies and stuff, but.
Ms. Eileen, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We had a quick question.
Sure.
What was your degree in that you ended up graduating with?
Oh, it was technically a Bachelor of Fine Arts. My concentration was jewelry and metalsmithing. And then I got a kindergarten through 12th grade teaching certification for the state of Pennsylvania.
Great. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for, yes, I can't like see the chat too well. So let me know when there's questions.
No, I'm good.
So on the right, I worked at Joann's, did the retail thing. Bright Horizons is a daycare. And then Lowe's home improvement. So there was like this aspect of like retail. I did some, did some babysitting on the side, just working a lot of jobs while trying to figure it out. The other arts related jobs I did have, after graduating from Edinburgh, I actually graduated in December. So I still had until May of the next year to, because of my apartment lease. And so I started working in Erie, which is about 20 minutes north. There was a place called, it was the Erie Art House, but it's called I can't read the logos. It's called the Inner City Neighborhood Art House now. And so that was like my first job out of college. And it was kind of nice because the students that I had student taught, a lot of them would go here after school. And they were the ones that actually told me about it. And it was like my first taste of having the opportunity to teach students, but not having to go through like lesson plans and curriculum and like the like traditional school route. And so it was really neat to do this. This was also like my first taste of like a nonprofit setting where, it was really funded by like donations. And so like the art supplies were usually donated. And so it was a lot of like quick thinking on your feet, like what you could make with the supplies that were donated that day. And they even had like really great like dance classes and music and instruments. And so I really enjoyed working with them. I eventually came back to Pittsburgh after my lease is up, and that's when I started working at the daycare. Sometimes you just need a full-time job that offers benefits, and having a teaching degree was helpful. And I started working at Bright Horizons, and I was put in the preschool class. So then I had students ages 3 to 5. And it was just very, I mean, there was art involved in my job, but obviously there was a lot of other things, like having kids learn like the months of the year and the days of the week and left from right and all those fun things. I worked there, I want to say just a year and a half. I kind of lucked out. Bright Horizons was kind of my path to the Warhol. Every time I got a new student in my class, I would do kind of a parent-teacher conference just to like meet the parents and let them know about the classroom and answer any questions. So I had a student coming into my classroom, and I met his mom and dad. And mom and dad happened to work for the Warhol Museum, and we were chatting. Dad was the curator of performance, and mom was the director of education at the Warhol. And after talking for a while, and like they learned about my background and like fine arts and like teaching, and eventually they just asked like why I was working at a daycare, and I told them that I just didn't know what I wanted to do, or like I knew what I wanted to do, like I wanted to be in arts, but I wasn't exactly sure how to make a living doing it. And so Tressa Varner, who was the director of education at the time, she started to mentor me. I would meet with her. She would look at my teaching portfolio and, you know, like what I had done in the past, asking me, you know, like, what are you interested? Eventually, she had an opening in her department, and I started as an artist educator there. And so that was my start at the Warhol back in 2011, I believe. I took a brief break from the Warhol in 2013, from 2013 to 2015. I actually moved to Philadelphia. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was working to finish school. And so I thought, hey, I'll give another city a try. And so I ended up at the Philly Arts Center. And so that was another after school program for elementary age students, teaching art classes. And then I was just there for the year and a half or to 2 years that I was in Philadelphia, and then came back to Pittsburgh. I didn't directly go back to the Warhol. I ended up working for the Artsmiths of Pittsburgh, which is located in Carnegie now, but it was in Mount Lebanon before. And it's a retail space for Pittsburgh area artists. So I was also able to sell my work there as well. Along the way, while working many part-time jobs, because my degree was in jewelry and metalsmithing, I really wasn't doing any of it. I was really focusing on the art education aspect of my degree, and the jewelry and metal had taken a back seat, and I really wanted to get back into it. So the first picture you see here with like the leaves, her name is Eileen as well, but she spells with an A. Eileen Lampman of AI Jewelry. She is a Pittsburgh-based jewelry artist. I was lucky enough to be her studio assistant for a few years, while like I worked with Eileen part-time while I was still working at the daycare, while I still like worked at the Warhol. I even still worked for her when I moved to Philadelphia. She would send me supplies, and then I would send back finished jewelry. So she was a really great mentor, because even though I learned a lot of skills of like traditional metalsmithing at Edinburgh, they didn't really teach you what to do to like sell it. They really kind of pushed grad school and teaching a little bit more. And I wanted to figure out, how do I make stuff and like make money from it? And so working for Eileen, it was really interesting. She would do things like the Three Rivers Arts Festival. She would supply stores with her jewelry as well. And it was also a really good learning experience on how to do production work. So production work is like being able to make the same thing over and over again, but like with slight variations, as opposed to like having just a one-of-a-kind piece. And so I had to really learn how to work more efficiently and like smarter with the materials that I had. And through Eileen, I was able to, after I had moved to Philadelphia, she had connected me with the second person here. His name is Caleb Meyer, and he had a studio in Philadelphia, and he worked in gold and platinum. So Eileen worked in sterling silver, which was something that I knew how to work with, while Caleb worked in gold and platinum, which was like completely new to me because they didn't teach us how to do it in school. And so it's similar process, but a lot of different things. I wasn't making jewelry with Caleb. I was working more as like a store manager for him. So he had a studio in the back and a storefront, and the storefront sold like American made crafts from like ceramics, wood, glass, sterling silver. So he also let me sell my jewelry at his shop as well. And so working for Caleb, it was also really understanding how to price my work, how to, like, also another way of like doing production work was casting. So that would be making molds of the work that I would have an original, learn how to make a mold. And then from that mold, I could just make castings of the jewelry that I made. So it was a different way of working. And it was really interesting because he also did a lot of work with more like precious metal, stones, diamonds, and just understanding that world of it. And then the last person, the third person, her name was Laura Slavin of Modern Bird Jewelry. She also had a storefront, but her work was a lot different. She did work in sterling silver, but also just like a completely different style. It was interesting because she was a little bit more freeform, while I realized I was a little bit more rigid when it came to like making and designing. So she was a great mentor as well, as far as like, I believe she was more self-taught. And so that was interesting to see the difference between, someone who goes to school for it. Eileen, the first one, also went to Edinburgh. And then Caleb in the middle is actually a second generation goldsmith. His father was a goldsmith as well. And then there was Laura, who was self-taught. So eventually I tried my hand at creating my own work. So this is my sterling silver jewelry that I've made. So my work was a lot more linear, I guess. So instead of using sheets to like saw and solder, well, thank you. I was using wire instead, and using wire and pliers to really manipulate the metal, which I really enjoyed. And then it was also just learning how to be my own brand, which is something they also didn't really teach you in school. So it was also trying to figure out like what I like to make, what I'm good at making, and like how do I, make a living doing this. So I was working, on my own jewelry line while also working like other part-time jobs. And so I know, Jasmine, you've done Handmade Arcade. I don't remember what year this was, but the top two photos were like my one and only time at Handmade Arcade, which was like really great. And like it felt really cool to have people finally like buying my work and like seeing it. It was a lot of work, and I'm sure, Jasmine, you can attest to how much it takes to like set up and tear down for a show. So like down here is just like the boxes of stuff and like, cleaning up afterwards. I did have studio space that was outside of my home for a little bit, out in Etna. So this is like my workbench, and this was like a polishing station. Of course, when you rent out space for your studio, you have to pay rent. Trinity, you had a question. Have you ever done a vending event? So like Handmade Arcade would be like a vending event, I would say. Like craft shows. I did some craft shows in Philadelphia as well. So eventually, it was really hard to balance. It still is hard to balance wanting to create my own work, but also working, for the Warhol and like having, like you have this steady paycheck and like this job security that's like in a creative field, while it's not necessarily the like medium that you're working in or like the work that you do. So I'm trying to think when I took a break. I went full time at the Warhol in 2017. I think that's when I officially put jewelry on the back burner. And you know, it just changed, like life happens, I guess. And now I'm a mom, and that makes things a little bit harder to balance. My son Cameron was born in March of 2021. And so I went back to work at the Warhol after maternity leave, and I am working there part-time, figuring out this work-life balance of like being a working mom. And then there's this other part of my brain that like wants to keep making stuff and wants to keep doing things, but like I'm still figuring this out. Like, do I go back to making jewelry? Do I just go back to making custom things? It's been really helpful to have these people that I've worked with along the way, whether they were the jewelers that I worked for, or like the stores that I worked for, to really like get an understanding of what it takes to run a business, because you have to do everything. You're not only having to make the work, you have to like photograph it, you have to market it, you have to apply for shows, you have to price things properly so that you're actually making money. What else? You know, like having to transport all these things to and from a show. It was just a lot. And at the moment, in the present moment, I don't have the capacity to do that right now. I'm hoping to get back to it. But I'm trying to stay creative in other ways. So when the lockdown happened, a lot of people got into baking. And so that was my way of kind of coping, but also being able to create something that I could share with my friends and family. So this is like what I've been creative doing more recently. I know it's not jewelry, but it is also a very delicious way to stay creative. So I'm often tasked with being the one to make a birthday cake, or, you know, cupcakes and things like that. So that is kind of where my creativity gets to be at this point. I'm hoping to make, to launch back into jewelry someday. But for now, I'm enjoying the work that I do at the Warhol. It's very fulfilling to be able to do these youth programs and just like showing youth all the different creative paths that there could be. And so they also just like hearing about everyone's journey at the Warhol. Everyone in my department, you know, maybe one was a painter, others have studied art history, some that just like didn't do art at all. I've met an artist that had a biomedical engineering background. I don't know, it's figuring out your passion, how to make it work, and also just working smart, I guess, those are the things that I'm still learning to do. So I thank you for listening to my little journey from school to the Warhol, not at the Warhol, back at the Warhol. That is my email that you can write to me if you have any questions about programs at the Warhol, or even those teen events that I talked about. teens@warhol.org, that's more of like a general one. There's another program coordinator that also can see that along with me. Or if you just want to check out what else is going on at the Warhol, there's warhol.org/teens.
I don't know how you have time to do all that you've done. That was amazing.
I know. And you were
Thank
like,
you.
being a working mom and work-life balance, I was like, hey, write a book. Like,
Yeah, that I was looking at your Etsy and you know, some of the things that you've done, and you are so talented. That's
Oh,
just
thank you.
wonderful. I was saying I love the swirls, and I see a lot of your work and even your logo for your personal business. Is there a story behind the swirls?
So after I moved to, I want to say it started mostly after I moved to Philadelphia. And I was living about a mile south of like Center City. And so I was just like walking around a lot. And like, obviously Philadelphia is like a super old city.
Right.
And so there's a lot of like really old, beautiful, like architectural details and like those wrought iron gates. And so I was really fascinated by those really pretty details on like, you know, a building, or like they're, you know, rusted now. And so I was really drawn to that aesthetic. And so it also kind of ties into like with the wrought iron gates, like traditional like blacksmithing, which is like a very different form of working with metal that I also find like really fascinating.
Oh, they're beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was wondering because I see that, and I love anything that's circular or round. And for some, I mean, I'm not artistic at all. You know, I do the cake decorating and, you know, little stuff, but definitely couldn't sell a thing. But I thought those were beautiful.
I'd buy it, Miss Carla.
You would? Okay. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah. No, you never know. Like it's interesting to like figure out what people like and don't like. And so like I would be at shows and like I like worked forever on something and thought it was the greatest thing and it was gonna sell as soon as I opened, and like no one wanted it. And
Oh, wow.
you know, like something else sold, and it's just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Interesting is one of our 3 favorite euphemisms here at School to Career.
I'm sure.
Does anybody else have any questions for Ms. Eileen? She is a wealth of various kinds of information. So
Yeah,
please.
Trinity posted in the chat, what was your favorite design, favorite thing to design?
Oh, as far as jewelry, I really liked, it was it was that like lax pendant with like the purple amethyst stone.
Nice.
So that one was one of my favorites because it was using scrap. So there would be you know, like I would like twist all of the swirls like by hand with like pliers, and sometimes things just didn't fit. And like, so I would just have this kind of, I had like a little bowl that just had scraps in it of like pieces that didn't work out for other projects. And it was kind of like a puzzle. And I really enjoyed putting it together because it was one that I didn't draw out at first. And it was one that just came together with what I had left over.
Yeah, wow. Usually those are the best ones. I ran into an artist a few months ago, and she was saying she felt so bad because her most favorite, the piece that everybody wanted was the one she spent the least amount of time on. And, you know, she's like, I didn't put that much into it, but it was like the most popular one in the whole exhibit. So that's really amazing.
Yeah.
I see. Oh yeah, sorry. You already see that question.
Yeah, I see. Trinity asked when I'm overwhelmed, what can I do to calm down? That is a great question. So that has been, I mean, like I've struggled with like anxiety and depression since like my teen years. And that has been a thing that like has really, I know like there are days where I just don't want to make anything, and other times it's like totally fueling what I'm doing. As far as like calming down, I love to, I've actually gotten into like just breathing exercises. I don't know if you've ever heard of like the Headspace app, but like it sounds like corny, but like there's this playlist on Spotify called like Peaceful Piano or something. And sometimes like I used to listen to a lot of like different things in the car, but like now just like I just need to like zone out and do that. But going for walks with my pups or just cuddling with my dog helps me calm down. And then of course, like when my baby boy is you know, when he's happy, I'm happy. So it's fun to play with him.
Yeah, we actually, thank you. We talk about you know, self-centering and self-care as part of our internal curriculum, and Headspace is actually one of the apps we recommend. So
nice.
I hope there's no surprise out there about the Headspace app. No, but that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, please, no, continue.
I actually have a question. I actually have 2. So one of them is about your cohorts. I love to teach like kids like how to sew and like let them know that like your hands are very creative and can basically make anything. So I was wondering about doing sewing classes at the War Prom, or if that can like be possible?
We've done, so it's like, we've definitely done like fashion workshops, like although I'm not an expert on that. I mean, like with Warhol, he was like big into fashion, and of course we can like screen print on fabric. We have had educators that were more well versed in like sewing, like try and lead like fashion workshops and things like that. But I would love to, like, that would be so cool. I've also like, it'd be really nice for my teens to like hear that or like being able to like work with their hands on things that are like, that make something that's functional and like with sewing. But yeah, I would love to connect with you, Jasmine, over that.
Awesome. My second question is, I know I have my mask at the gift shop, but I was wondering, since like the whole like vaccination thing, like no mask, I was wondering if I can possibly get the bandanas, the pet bandanas, into the shop.
That's a good question. I can ask, do you work with Paul Matteries, or is it, I don't know who does the buying for it, but.
It was, I think her name was Sarah.
Oh, Sarah, yes. So it was Sarah, and Sarah has since left the museum. And then, so now her name's Paola. Paola is I think the buyer for it, but yeah, I can definitely connect you to, since Sarah's not there anymore. We still have people we still have a mask, like we still require people to wear masks at the museum. So I think we'll still need that for a while, but yeah, I think, yeah, I can definitely make a note to like connect the two of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I love the, you were talking about the prom, and I remember a few years ago, they did it at the main, the Oakland location, the Oakland Carnegie, and our students wanted to go. They had convinced me to take them to this event, and we could not. I mean, I was excited to go. I'm like, okay, let's do it. But something came up at the last minute. I couldn't go, and some of our students went. But I always thought that was so amazing that you all had that, mid-year prom for students that just any and everybody could go. So with COVID, I know it's like, do you think like maybe next year, or is that going to happen again? So I think that's a great opportunity.
Yeah, so we have the dates held for things like youth invasion and prom in 2022. And we're working that, it's like it changes day by day. As far as like capacity and like what is considered safe. I have a feeling we'll still need to have everyone masked at least in the spring. I just don't know what capacity is going to be like, but we're going to try really, really hard to make it as fun as possible and like still have as many people come that we can. But yeah, prom would be the first weekend in June, and then youth invasion is the last Friday in April. Okay.
Yeah, I just posted I posted on our band for our students to the screen. I did the screen capture for the team membership launch on December 10th. So I'm hoping that, some of our kids will come out and support that as well. That sounds like an amazing opportunity, and I'm great. It's just amazing that you all are offering free memberships to teens. That is the best thing that I've heard all year. I mean, I myself went to Rad Days. And I told, because I've been to, I think, pretty much all the museums lately, but I told the students yesterday that they, needed to get over to see some of the exhibits, and they were, over the holiday break. So this will even make it easier for them to spend some time at, just taking their time and going to all the Carnegies to spend some time just walking through. I know I was there that Saturday, and I think it was like 3 hours later, and I'm like, I need to leave. But I need to go. So it's fun.
And then in addition to the free teen memberships, they did like an extremely reduced price like family membership. And I want to say it's like $20 now for a family. But yeah, I'm gonna make a note to send all those links.
Okay. That'll be great. And I'm one of those people, I love going into the museum. I remember being there one time with my son long time ago, and we were there because you get lost. I don't know who's been to the museum lately, but you can get lost in what you're looking at. And, you know, I like going to the T.D. Harris exhibit and just sitting there and watching the pictures. My great grandmother was in that exhibit, and we have a lot of his pictures in our family collection. So, you know, I've gone there, and I love that there's chairs there, because I'll just go there and just sit. I'll go there and just sit and have a great time. And then I don't realize how long I've been in there, but when my son was smaller, I remember them, you know, it was time to close the museum and certain lights were going off.
I did the same thing. I was sitting there in front of the T.D. Harris portion, and all of a sudden my wife comes back and she was like, "Do you realize how long you've been sitting here?" I was like, "Well, I don't have to go to the bathroom yet, so it couldn't be that long."
It's Pittsburgh history. It's amazing. And, you know, because we are connected with the Hill District, my family is from the Hill, my husband, you know, it's great to see some of the, you know, some of those pictures, you know, just a whole history in that one space. And I also just went to see, because I went over to see, what was your exhibit? Oh my gosh, I have the book and I can't think of the name of it. It was a blue
At the
book.
Warhol?
Yes, at the Warhol. It was about 3 months ago. I can't find my book. Something.
Is it Fantasy America?
Fantasy America. Yes, you were right. I went to see that. That was amazing. So, like I said, I missed the mural launch, but I know I'll be back. So I'll get over there eventually. It's sort of like my hangout lately.
Yeah.
But,
Carla, is your family still in the Hill District?
my in-laws are. Yeah, my
Okay.
in-laws are in the Hill Districts. My sister-in-law still lives there. And I have an aunt that lives, you know, in my grandmother's house. So definitely connected. And School to Career has been part of the Hill for, you know, I've been with School to Career for 20 years. So I've worked in the Hill during my 20 years at the program. So it's really cool to, you know, stay connected and see, you know, that history, you know, and, you know, right here in the museum. So
yeah,
neat.
I wonder, maybe it's a husband and wife team, but my husband was telling me about these, there's like an art studio or gallery or something, and I'm trying to think what it's called now. It'll probably come to me after it, but I feel like they have like an artist residency, and it's been on my list to like get out there to like meet them.
In the Hill District?
Yeah.
The Fosse?
Maybe.
Yeah, we Jeremy and I were supposed to go to the Fosse's, one of his, because they have something every week.
Okay.
So we were supposed to go to that one. What was that, like September, October, Jeremy? We never made it. So I haven't been in the Fosse either. So there's a couple places I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, but it was very, very cool. Jordan Smith, at the time at least, was the coordinator who was working on coordinating appropriately the opening of Nafasi Center, which was a Hill CDC project.
Okay.
And then I know that the New Granada space is also going to be, that Pitt is working on opening, or it just opened, I guess.
Well, Pitt's just going to lease a space there.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah, that's a Hill CDC project as well. Pitt's just
wonderful. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, it's MoCA, MoKA art gallery. Yeah.
I haven't been to that one.
Very cool.
We have to go. All right. So yeah, we'll have to see that one. There's so much going on in the Hill District. It's hard to keep up. Absolutely. I mean, just the arts community in Pittsburgh has, you know, my eyes are now open. So it's been a lot over the last few months, just trying to figure out who's doing what, where they are. Because Bloomfield, Penn Avenue, that whole corridor is, you know, major arts community. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, hopefully we can get some of our students out there. Jasmine's already been there, so that's a good thing. So
hey, I'll host a field trip once things start coming back together for us.
Exactly. Sounds like fun.
Everyone pile in the station wagon. Do we have any last questions for Ms. Eileen before we let her go to her weekend? Well, she was Ms. Eileen was very, very generous to to offer to answer questions after the fact. So, please take advantage of her as a wonderful resource. And if you
Absolutely.
need anything, please, feel free, if you lose track of her contact info, please feel free to give me a shout and I can put you in touch with her as well. Can we have a mics unmuted and, if possible, cameras on? Final thank you for Ms. Eileen, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Please
Thank you.
tell
Have a-
Thank
Star
you.
hello.
I'm in a car right now. Sorry.
No, thank
Okay.
you for being here, Trin. Thank you very much, Ms. Eileen. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
All right. Good seeing you, Jasmine, Trinity, and Zamira.